questions. Question orale, honorable leader of the opposition. Hell yeah.
After the summer, the Liberals had, even the Prime Minister must admit that he's not worth the cost, Mr. Speaker. After 8 years of promising to reduce the cost of housing, it has doubled. And he said it's not his job. And finally, he panicked because of lower support in polls. He's recycled the same promises he broke over 6 years ago. It took 8 years to cause housing hell by the Prime Minister. How long will it take to resolve this?
Pierre looks sharp, man. Wow. Okay, everybody, when I stand up, everybody needs to clap really hard. You know he had that talk.
We know that Canadians are feeling the rise in prices throughout the country, especially at the grocery store and for housing. That's why we are taking immediate action to build more housing by eliminating GST, by supporting small businesses and extending repayment, and by calling in food CEOs for a meeting today to ensure we reduce the cost of food. Our priority is to build an economy focused on the well-being of all Canadians, and that is what we will do every day in this House.
Here's the English now. They always start in French. Here we go. Crack the knuckles. Oh, no.
Well-being.
Another French one.
Intense. After 8 years, the cost of housing has doubled, and now interest rates are going up faster than in our country's monetary history. Even the former finance minister, Liberal, John Manley, said that interest rates are going up because of the deficits. This prevents people from building houses and buying them. Will he finally eliminate inflationary deficits that make interest rates go up and keep his promise to balance the budget? The Right Honourable
The next one will be English.
Mr. Speaker, actions count more than words, and we've taken action. We are building thousands of housing units in London, and we are reducing red tape. We are encouraging cities like Calgary to put forward more ambitious proposals, and we are ensuring that affordable apartments are built throughout the country by eliminating GST on their construction. And if food CEOs don't make your groceries more affordable, we will do so. This is what Canadians are calling for today, and that is what
Cut the carbon tax, dude. That's the biggest thing.
For everybody. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, after the summer that these Liberals have had, even the Prime Minister must admit that he's not worth the cost. Yeah. 8 years after he promised to make housing more affordable, he doubled the cost, doubled the rent, doubled mortgage payments, doubled the needed down payment. Then he said housing is not his job. And then he panicked when he plummeted in the polls and recycled promises that he'd broken 6 years earlier. Mr. Speaker, it took him 8 years to cause this housing hell. How long will it take to fix it?
Wow.
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
He did plummet in the polls real bad.
Work with municipalities to get housing built faster, and that's exactly what we're doing right across the country, including, for example, with the City of London, where we've got a deal done that fast-tracks the creation of over 2,000 additional housing units over the next 3 years, builds thousands more in the years to come.
That's nothing.
By cutting red tape, fixing outdated zoning policies, and building more homes faster. This is our first deal, but I promise, not the last.
They need 2,000 a year, not 3 years.
Speaker, he's building bureaucracy, not building homes. In fact, his inflationary deficits drive up interest rates, according to former Liberal Finance Minister John Manley. And that ensures that it's harder not only to buy homes, but to build them. Today, we got the devastating news that not only are we not increasing home building was down in August, 18 months after his so-called accelerator was brought into place. So when will the Prime Minister realize that he's not worth the cost, get out of the way, and build homes, not bureaucracy?
Yeah, and more than 2,000 homes in 3 years. That's
Speaker, the opposition
Not impressive.
won't help get houses built. Our plan does. The Minister of Housing wrote the Mayor of Calgary offering to partner with the city if they made necessary changes for more affordable housing. And just this Saturday, the City of Calgary approved a plan for reducing zoning red tape and building housing by public transit. This is a step in the right direction, and we know together we can build more apartments for students to rent and more homes for families to grow in.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, all he has delivered is an economy that built fewer homes last year than were built in 1972.
Wow.
And
That's
this year,
horrible.
housing construction is expected to drop further by 32%. Data from August showed that home building was down again. His inflationary deficits drive up interest rates, which make it harder for builders to finance their construction and harder for Canadians to afford a mortgage. So what will he finally do what he promised to do 8 years ago, and that is balance the budget to bring down interest rates and inflation?
Yeah.
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
We're focused on delivering real results while the leader opposite is focused on empty slogans and picking fights. In fact, when he
Real results, okay.
he bungled projects like the Toronto Line 1 extension, which to this day has no housing near a number of its stations. In contrast, we are actually linking public transit dollars to apartments and housing density. And we're doing so without the Conservative plan to restrict access to abortion, to deny the impact of climate change, and put more assault weapons in our streets.
That little smirk.
The Honourable Member for La Prairie.
Oh, shit. Don't cut the mic, man. Let him fight. Let him duke it out. Trudeau has to read his little script.
Okay. I just want to remind the honourable members, the ones who used to sit way down there and now are over here, I can see you now as well as hear you. The honourable member, l'honorable.
The Honourable
And it
Member
begins. The zoo begins.
Mr. Speaker, in the midst of the housing crisis, Quebecers want politicians to find solutions. But to date, politicians in Ottawa aren't finding solutions. They're finding scapegoats. They blame our cities in Quebec for their failures in Ottawa. But municipalities have pointed out that the federal government is withholding $900 million earmarked for housing during a housing crisis. Ottawa is depriving Quebec of $900 million and has been doing so for 6 months. Mr. Speaker, it's not a time for squabbling. It's a time for building. It's time to be responsible. Will the government immediately release our $900 million? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, we are there to build in partnership with the provinces and municipalities. We're there to build more housing. That's why we created a $4 billion plan to accelerate densification housing more quickly. We've also eliminated the GST on building new apartments.
That wasn't on my end.
We know that we need to increase supply. We will continue to be there to work hand in hand with the provinces, with municipalities, because it's by all working together that we will address this housing crisis. The Honourable Member for La Prairie. Mr. Speaker, if housing is their priority, then they should free up the $900 million we're entitled to for housing construction. It doesn't get much more obvious than that. And yet the Liberals are doing the opposite. They're withholding the $900 million for housing. The message this sends to Quebecers who are having a hard time affording decent housing is that they're not the priority. They take second place to jurisdictional squabbles. Mr. Speaker, that's not responsible. That's not what Quebecers expect from the federal government. So when are the $900 million for housing going to be paid? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. On the contrary, Mr. Speaker, we know full well that the Bloc is here for squabbling. We are here to work hand in hand with the provinces, with municipalities. That's why we've set up...
The Bloc is not there for squabbling.
...plan to work directly with municipalities to increase supply in housing, to build more densification, to improve zoning, to accelerate construction of new housing. We've also removed the GST from construction costs for new apartments because we know how much we need to increase supply. That's part of the actions we've taken for a long time that we will continue to take to help people throughout the country. The Honourable Member for Burnaby South.
20 months, Canadians have been dealing with high grocery bills, and neither the leader of the opposition nor the Prime Minister have the courage to mention the true culprit, the corporate greed, which is driving up prices. In fact, when they had the chance to publicly show up and hold these CEOs to account, neither of them even bothered to show up. Right. The leader of the opposition even gave tax breaks to the wealthy CEOs. When will the Prime Minister stop the delay and the disappointment? When will this government step up and force these CEOs to finally lower their prices?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, our focus is on making life more affordable and ensuring corporations pay their fair share. The Minister of Innovation met today with the CEOs of the large grocery chains to reinforce the immediate need to stabilize food prices and improve competition. Indeed, we're introducing changes to competition here in Canada to address the rise in food prices, amongst others. We will, every day, Mr. Speaker, continue to build an economy that works for all Canadians.
Well, member for Burnaby South.
Jagmeet just needs to end the coalition.
Under the Liberals and the Conservatives, Canada has lost 1 million affordable housing units. And it's been 5 months that construction has been going down. Eliminating GST on the construction of affordable housing is important, but it's 8 years too late. It will take a lot more. When will the Prime Minister stop delaying and announce that the federal government is starting once again to build affordable housing? The Right Honourable Prime
Don't worry,
Minister.
2,000 homes over 3 years.
Our goal is to make people's lives more affordable and to ensure that corporations pay their fair share. The Minister of Innovation met with food CEOs this morning to insist on the need to stabilize the price of food and increase competition. We are making changes to the rules on competition in Canada to fight the rise in food prices, among other. We will continue to build an economy that works for all Canadians every day.
Le chef de l'opposition.
Thanks for watching the video to the very end. If you'd like to subscribe, I've made it very easy. You can do so by clicking right there. If you'd like to watch another House of Commons highlight clip, you can do so by clicking right there. And if you'd like to subscribe to my main channel, Mistersunshinebaby, where it's all Canadian political news, then you can do so by tapping up there. Subscribing is absolutely free. There's a button down below that says subscribe. If you'd like to join and become a member and financially contribute, you could do so as well. Thank you so much for watching this video.